At least I know where Zach is now. That explains why he's not answering his phone. But how did he get himself in this mess? He said he had a plan that might help, but if it got him into enough trouble to get himself in a cell, I don't think I like that plan of his. And hell yeah, I'm mad. I'm absolutely furious. I doubt Zach will get himself arrested because of an actual crime. But whatever stupid stunt he pulled to get there isn't any better. The only good thing today so far is the fact that the streets are nearly empty so early on a Sunday morning. Very few pedestrians and virtually no other car on the road to get in the way of me rushing to the precinct. Within the speed limit, of course. Oh, okay, he actually made it. I thought for sure he was going to get called by Becca before he got here. A whirlwind of activity welcomes me as soon as I waltz into LPD HQ. Fellow officers running here and there, pushing around paperwork and answering calls. It's almost Halloween and troublemakers are abound. Calls about pranks gone wrong make up most of it this time of the year, along with the occasional altercation or missing dog. Some of the other officers who work with me look up from their desks and wave, though none of them moves to stop me like I'm expecting. Standing order, my ass. It probably didn't last a whole day. Although I'd like to have a chat with them, sooner or later, about official matters, I'm not here for them right now. Of course, it never hurts to see what they have for me, and the best person to ask for details in this precinct is the guy behind the booking window. He glances up at me once when I approach, then immediately returns to his task indifferent. Not that I need his full attention. As long as he talks, I'm good.
Hey, I heard there's a new guy in the holding cells.
Not many here know Zach, and if they've seen him, they don't pay too much attention. I try to keep my work and personal life as far away from each other as I possibly can. Each one of them is quick to chat, gossip, be the one to talk about the new detainee and have everyone's attention.
News flies fast, huh? They just brought him in this morning.
Any info on him?
Got his ass handed by some rich bloke's bodyguard. Or butler. Whatever.
Can you please talk some more?
When we got to the scene, he's already been strung up and ready for pickup. Hard to imagine how a guy like him could have been taken down. But the butler has this creepy air to him. I'd rather not ask. Feel sorry for the bloke. He could have fought back.
He could have, but Zach's a cinnamon bun. Or was. But I know Zach wouldn't hurt a fly. He's not that kind of person, and knowing he might be in a bad state, whatever little anger I've built for him on the way here dissolves into thin air.
Has he been booked yet?
No, still sleeping. Creepy butler probably hit him hard.
Oh no, did we not get to talk to him? Which is a good thing. If they slip up and forget, we get him a writ of habeas corpus and take him out of there, depending on what he's actually being charged with. But at the same time, it's bad. How long is he going to be unconscious? I'll be worried about serious injury if he's out cold for too long. Whoever hurt him has a lot of explaining to do. To me.
What's he in for then? Must have been something if we got a rich fat cat involved.
There's been a murder.
There's been a murder. It takes those 4 words to grab my attention and for all pretense of mingling with co-workers to disappear. Soon, Chief walks up to me, not looking too happy bringing this news.
Another one of those awful ones with writing all across the walls. This time, though, we caught somebody. Your friend, Steele, wasn't it? I do hope you're not involved in any of this fray.
Why would that be your first assumption?
What? Hold on, Zach wouldn't... There must be some sort of confusion here. I really have no idea what you're talking about, Chief.
I really don't. For a second, the thought of him being found dead made my blood run cold. Zach, just... there. Lying on the ground, still and lifeless. I have to remind myself that he's still alive and in lockup for one more day. I can't imagine how Zach can be connected to a murder otherwise. The guy won't even harm anyone even if his life depends on it.
Picture this, then. In the early hours on the 13th of October, just this morning, a man is woken from his slumber by noise in the next room.
He was already awake.
With the intent of reprimanding what might be a housekeeper, he stumbles out of his bed and sees not one of his staff, but a trespasser breaking into his home.
I'd like to point out that Luke was in his Armani suit. Just want to point that out.
That already is a bad thing. But imagine seeing that trespasser standing over his bleeding wife. Just think about it. It's not a happy sight.
Just think about it. What? There has to be a mistake. This is Zach we're talking about. Actually, out of curiosity, how long had Hannah been dead? Because they can surely tell from how long the body's been decaying that there's no way Zach was the one who did it. Let's see. Okay, so Zach found her on the 30th. Well, it is close, though. He killed her Saturday night, and early Sunday morning he found her. So it's not as much time as would be ideal. Ugh. What? There has to be a mistake. This is Zach we're talking about.
We finally got our perp, but at what price? I still can't believe it turned out to be Steele. I know he's your friend, Frey, but it doesn't look good. The media's already caught wind of these killings.
Well, considering Zach's gonna be dead in a day, you haven't caught your perp.
You better believe everyone, the higher-ups, the government, the media, just everyone will want someone going down for those crimes. Unless something definitive proves that he's not guilty of these crimes, well...
People are ignorant. They'll feel better as long as someone is punished.
I know Zach. He wouldn't do such a thing.
You may think that, but it's up to the court to decide whether he's guilty or not. If you're so sure of his innocence, perhaps you'd like to help him get a lawyer. He's going to need a good one.
Shouldn't there be a public defender assigned to him already?
Oh, we tried. We really did.
Sheesh.
Called every PD in Luxburn, but they kept making up excuses. Conflict of interest. Claims they can't represent the defendants effectively.
They don't want to go up against Luke.
Really, it seems like nobody wants to go against Luke Wright and the prosecution.
And there it is. Of course it's Luke Wright. Who else can it be? That guy is just everywhere. Has his eggs in every basket and his fingers in every cookie jar. Is there a scheme in Luxburn he doesn't have a hand in? I don't even realize it, in my utter disbelief, that I've slammed my fist down on the table beside me. Just shaking. With anger, rage, and even a smidgen of fear. But knowing what all of this entails, what Zach might be facing? Though there's no capital punishment, being declared guilty of homicide is basically a life sentence, with a 30-year minimum term at the very least. I don't think someone like Wright will be lenient and offer him a plea deal for 25 years. Even if he got parole, well, let's face it, people would only see a murderer. He'll have a hard time getting a job again, for starters, unless he gets acquitted. The fact that he's going against one of the most influential men in the city, he's going to need the best of the best to go against the worst of the worst.
I'm sure defense attorney Anna Davis is up to the challenge. What are the charges?
3 counts of breaking and entering into private property.
3.
4 counts of homicide with the murders of Rose Cooper, Father Norman Lee, Isabella Santos, and now Hannah Wright.
Ugh. To be accused of killing your best friend, well, not your best, but, you know, like, someone who you were really close to, like Isabella. What a gut punch. The charges of breaking and entering are negligible. He's looking at a fine worth £5,000 and 6 months in jail for each of those. But murder. Murder? And they're blaming him for Isabella's death, too? Even if they do say one is more likely to be killed by someone they know and trust rather than by a complete stranger, it's still utter bullshit. Surely there's evidence to prove Zach wasn't at the scene in any of those crimes. The thought of the big guy in jail, framed for something he didn't do. I can't just keep still about it. I can't keep calm.
This is just bullshit! I know Zach. He's not that kind of guy. Wright, on the other hand, I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved. And if he is, I swear
But I need to keep myself together, for Zach's sake. Especially when the chief has such a grave look on his face. Although I can see it in his eyes that he understands, we both know we're bound by the rules and laws.
Luke Wright will be coming here to give his testimony. I advise that you refrain from any remarks that he might consider slanderous. If Steele really is innocent, we'll find out during the investigation. Of course, you won't be handling this case. And you are not going to be involved in any of it except as a character witness if you wish to volunteer. We're both already in a lot of trouble as it is. It'd be best to behave for now. Is that understood, Frey?
I mean, he's being tough but fair. For someone who's, being paid under the table by Luke, he oddly is a tough but fair police chief as well.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
There is due process to be followed. Hopefully, just maybe, justice will be served rightfully. We'll just have to hope for the best in the investigation. Because people lie, but evidence doesn't. If Zach is really innocent, which I know he is, the evidence will show that. Besides, the burden of proof is on the prosecution. Sometime during our talk, Wright and his right-hand man has already arrived. It's eerie how he seems to be a different man when he walks into the precinct. A heavy air hangs about him, and he feels more subdued, contrary to the pompous and arrogant nature he's displayed before. There is a dullness in his eyes as he looks around the office, as if searching and begging for something, someone to appear. The picture of a grieving husband. Yet he still has his head held high despite it all, a look of a broken man who still refuses to bend. A show of pride, if nothing else, even as the person with highest authority in the room approaches him. He makes the chief appear small in comparison.
Mr. Wright, I did hope we'd be meeting again under better circumstances. I just can't believe it had to happen to poor Anna. You just got a new house and everything too. But, I'm sorry, how are you faring?
I'm just coming to grips with it all, I suppose. It's so very sudden.
Can we just talk about how creepy the chief's expression is right now?
Must I really give a testimony right now?
The way he speaks, I'm almost inclined to believe him innocent of any wrongdoing. In regards to the death of his wife, at least. Yeah. He could very well be. The man didn't seem to despise his wife, and those pictures Zach has shown me. What? How? Did I read that right? He could very well be innocent. The man didn't seem to despise his wife. And those pictures. I don't understand. Moving on. The way Chief has described the scene of the crime. Similar to the others, according to him. For all I know, they're being haunted by that specter as well.
We'll do this as quick as we can. Otherwise, we don't have reasonable grounds to keep the suspect in custody.
I nearly feel bad for the guy.
Of course, of course. It wouldn't do to let Hana's murderer get away unpunished. I'll cooperate.
Of course, that doesn't change the fact that he's a bastard.
It's a shame there is no death penalty here. Monsters so capable of murder are lower than animals. And they really should be put down.
Despite myself, in spite of every restraint I've placed on me, upon hearing those words, I can't help but open my mouth. Chief's warning be damned. This is my friend he's fucking shedding on. None of these are great. Ash. But of course, man, that evil smile. Well, we're gonna be back at this choice another day, so let's call him out this time, and the next time we'll rush him.
He's innocent!
I'm torn.
You don't believe he's actually capable of doing such a thing, do you? Someone else is responsible for those murders, and you want to put him down? On what grounds? What proof do you have that he's behind those deaths?
But I'm not going to let Zach go without a fight.
I saw him standing over Hana. My dear Hana. She didn't deserve death. But there she was. And I tried to wake her. I tried to save her. But she was already gone. Is that not proof enough? Can I not grieve over my wife's death without being questioned?
No. Hana Wright is already dead. That doesn't mean Zach has to be the one to pay the price.
Look, I'm not saying what happened to her should be overlooked. I'm telling you that Zach didn't do this. It can't be him. I know it's not him. I swear it isn't. I just need time to prove it isn't him.
Are you saying you know who murdered her?
Yes.
Maybe it's the high intensity of the situation right now. I may be just imagining it. But the way he zones in on me as I say that one word is nerve-wracking. I want to tell him the truth as I know it, to save us all some grief. Of course, the reality of it is, I can't say it's a ghost. They take my badge and put me in a damn jacket.
Well, no.
With the way everyone stares at me right now, they're probably considering it already. This guy is a nutter going against Luke right in the open like that. In fact, I'm already preparing myself for the shitstorm that might come about my outburst. Yet instead...
I understand that you're just concerned for the well-being of your friend. But unless you have concrete proof that there's another culprit in these murders, you are simply a man-child throwing a tantrum.
Take it from me, I would know.
If I were you, I'd pipe down and show some dignity befitting someone holding a badge.
I've expected more. A grand threat about how I should watch my back. But he just has this somber look about him. That did nothing to quell the burning feeling inside me. I'm still angry, gosh darn it all. Let's see. We're squaring off. An LPD officer informed Ashton of Zachary's detention. Immediately, he rushed to the precinct, where he met Luke Wright, there to file the charges against Zach. But before the detective could confront him, his fellow officers stopped him, much to his annoyance. Oh, the call's soon. I just saw the other pair. I'm like, ugh. My frustration about it all must have shown, because only now do I realize that the other officers have also jumped in to hold me back all this time. They don't even let go of me. Not until Wright and the chief are out of my sight. And it's awkward going on from there. The precinct is quiet, though the usual hustle and bustle of activities stayed. Everybody is making a concerted effort to shut their mouths about the whole scene. I wish they made the same effort to keep themselves from staring at me, though. They all want to talk about what just happened. But at the same time, they don't want to acknowledge that it did happen and refuse to even make eye contact with me. I don't give any of them the chance to talk to me about it anyway, only leaving a stern order with the nearest officer.
Look out for Zach while he's locked up, will you?
That's it. I have no further business here. I have no case, no assignment, and I sure as hell am not going to stick around to see what the chief has for my bad behavior. Winding myself down, I march out of the place as quickly as possible before anything else happens. And it's time. But before I can make it out and return to my car, my phone rings. Alright, everybody, hold my hand, we're going in. A quick glance at the caller ID shows Rebecca's name blinking on the screen. Without wasting any time, I answer the call. However, the tone she assumes isn't what I'm hoping to hear.
Becca?
Ah, the other side of the phone call.
Hey, did I wake you up?
Ragged, a bit out of breath. There's a tinge of urgency in it. Listening to her from my side of the line makes it seem like she has just run a marathon prior to this call.
No, I left you a voicemail, so I thought, where are you?
Ash, do you remember that one time?
The question catches me off, to say the least. Where is she going with this?
The... what?
Back in secondary, we joined a contest back then, didn't we? We had to dress you up as a girl and...
No.
What? You looked really pretty. I think I still have that picture somewhere.
Burn it. We're not talking about that again. You promised.
It did happen. Not a memory I'm very fond of, to be honest. Still, a laughter escapes me. No matter how embarrassing it is, that moment is one of the few I can remember clearly in my head. I never did find where she kept those photographs.
Seriously, what brought this on?
Nothing. It's just the first thing I remembered.
You're being weird today, Becca. Whatever. Listen, I need you to go home right away. I'm at Salem Well right now and...
Thanks, Ash.
What? Suddenly her voice hitches, almost as if she's in tears, and it sends every alarm bell ringing in my head. For better or for worse, something more than wrong is happening on her end of the line. Regardless, I give her the focus she asks of me. I don't want to think that she is nearly pleading for me to listen. I'd like to imagine that it isn't horror and a deep underlying resignation that I hear in her voice. I'm transfixed.
Hold on, did I do something?
For everything.
Rebecca, what?
The sweat.
I'm so glad to have known you.
Wait, what are you...
Whatever her words mean or feelings they carry ceases to matter in this instant. They're all inconsequential when someone, Rebecca's, life might be in danger. This whole thing isn't just wrong. Wherever she is, something's fucked up. Something's fucked up is going on, and I'm here listening to it right now, helpless.
God damn it, Rebecca, where are you?
Well, at least you heard the ghost laugh. A laughter, and then the line drops dead.
Rebecca? Rebecca!
Dread turns into terror, and the sudden pandemonium in the precinct comes rushing in all at once. Officers barking orders, the rapid tapping of foot against the floor, and people shouting for a dispatch. There's a split second where I'm torn between trying to figure out where Becca is and finding out what happened to inspire such chaos all of a sudden. Man, how did they who called the police so fast for that? See, Luxburn is peaceful as cities go. If there's any crime, it's usually low-key, in and out of the public eye as quickly as they come. Things are kept private and on a need-to-know basis, unless the media catches wind of a high-profile case or something really odd happens. Of course, there's gossip and people talk, but everybody minds their own business most of the time. So when commotion happens and people are shouting for dispatch, you know there's trouble. 2 words, broadcasting over every police radio all over the city, including the one on the front desk to fire everything up.
Jumper up.
Jumper up. The emergency service unit is assembling, each one hoping that they'll be able to talk this one down. An ambulance will already have been placed on standby. The library isn't too far from the hospital. Regardless, it spurs something in my gut.
Copy that. Can we get a 1020?
A cold, hard feeling that tells me I should be there.
Jumper was spotted on the rooftop of the city library. Need dispatch immediately.
I broke into a run. The library isn't too far from the precinct. In cases like these, however, every minute counts, each second critical. A cold and cruel voice already whispers in my head. You're too late. I want to believe it isn't. I hope and wish it isn't who I think it is. Because I don't want to be someone who has been so useless in that exact moment, frozen useless by apprehension when I heard her speak. I knew something was off, god damn it! I don't want to think it might have been her final words I'm listening to. But the horrifying possibility that what I fear is real drowns out everything else. You're too late. Anything and everything in front of me are mere obstacles in my way, and I run, jump, push everything aside as I try to make a beeline for my destination. I don't even have the time to let go of mindless apologies or to explain that there's an emergency to the bystanders I've shoved aside. But even with all that... Oh, her eye! Fall from grace. That's so rude. Man, the ghost was fast. It even wrote, "Help me!" around where she died outside. Oh, Becca. I am so sorry, girl. She kinda still had a smile on her face, at least. I'm too late.
Jumper is down. I repeat, Jumper is down. We've got a 1046 to the library. Over.
Copy that. Can we have identification of the body?
Rebecca Gales.
We've got a bystander here who says he knows the woman. Rebecca Gales from the local high school.
Becca. I'll recognize her anywhere, even from a mile away. And for once, that isn't a welcome fact. Too clear, too vivid. Her broken body lies on the sidewalk in just one big bloody mess. Her hair fans out and stands out in stark contrast to the pavement, slick with blood and redder than it's ever been. The right side of her head is caved in from the impact, and her right arm is twisted and mangled. And there are those words again around her, "Help me," just like the letter. So, it couldn't have been Zach, because Zach's in jail right now.
10-4. Medical personnel are on their way. Resume securing the immediate area for investigation and cleanup.
Gone.
All available officers have been dispatched for crowd control. Over.
She's gone.
We'll go. Over and out.
And I wasn't able to do a damn thing about it. Poor Ash. Shortly, officers moved to pull the bystanders away from the scene. People who have witnessed the fall, passers-by who just want to see what's interesting going on, someone screaming, weeping, crying. But I can't do anything other than stare. I can't even bring myself to come closer, only stand among the crowd as just another civilian. The world has come to a standstill. Numb is an understatement. No. I feel... dead inside. Isabella's gone and Rebecca's... The weight of my own failures has never felt as palpable as it did right now. One by one, everything I'm hanging on to has slipped from my grasp right in front of me. Alright. Well, rest in peace, Becca. And then it's Zach's turn soon. I have no idea how long I've stood there, how many seconds and minutes have passed simply watching the commotion. All I know is the bitter taste of ash on my tongue and the sharp tang of blood hanging in the air. But even with the world coming off sharply to my senses, none of it registers even as an officer starts pushing me away from the scene. But I have to be there. Without Isabella, without Zach, she's the last person I trusted to stay through this. And yet, a simple show of my badge will get me through the scene. Struggling, I reach into my pocket for it until somebody places a hand on my shoulder and pulls me back gently. Despite the gesture, my annoyance still flares at the interruption. This person does not understand that I'm slowly losing everything, everyone I've ever cared about. However, before I can even tell the meddler to piss off, recognition sets in, stopping me short of snapping at Professor Clark. Oh, someone who understands what you're going through with Becca, at least.
Ashton, why don't we take a walk?
Professor? I'm just... Rebecca, I need to see her.
No, Ashton, you don't. Leave it to them.
You really don't.
You don't need to see any more of that.
He speaks in that firm and commanding tone that makes me feel like a college brat all over again. But it's that look in his eyes that makes me comply with his order, and quietly I follow. The professor really does have a way of making me feel like a child at the worst of times. The fact that he's pulling me away from a crime scene in front of my colleagues is humiliating at best and a cause for concern at worst. At least I don't have to endure the agonizing and awkward silence, for as long as he leads me into the cafe across the street. On an ordinary Sunday, perhaps I would have a clear view of the library from here. But the more the LPD tried to suppress the crowd and clear the area, the more they've gathered out of morbid curiosity. That did nothing to stop the image of Rebecca's bloody body popping into my head at the mere thought of her name. Burned into my mind, like the image of Isabella's torn-up body. Like the image of the woman's sickening smile.
Why don't you get something from the menu? It's on me.
I'm sorry, Professor. Now isn't exactly a good time.
I know it isn't the best time, but you should have something, at the very least. You look like you're about to pass out back there. Healthy mind, healthy body, right? You'll always need it in your work. I know, as a matter of fact, that their hot chocolate is exquisite here. Releases endorphins, which are good to fight off thoughts and feelings of distress. It should do you some good. A chat and some chocolate.
If we had had Bella around, she would have made us that chocolate porridge thing.
I'm willing to listen.
Chatting and chocolate. Unorthodox in the face of death.
Why are you doing this, Professor?
I don't mean to interrogate. He has done nothing to deserve the brunt of my mood. I know he only means well, and that this gesture has good intentions. More than anyone, he's the one who understands grief, far longer than I've ever carried the guilt from that. So when he smiles, a wistful one, I already have my answer. In the end, we simply let the silence pass us, the sorrow to hang over us. He orders for me, but the food remains untouched. For a few more hours, we go on like this, silent, wordless, unable to phrase the ache that has been brought on by loss. He does break it after his third cup, if only to check on me.
How are you feeling? You haven't touched your food.
Not good, to be honest, but that doesn't mean you had to pull me away. It's not the first time I've seen a dead body, you know.
In a typical crime scene, where the victim is a stranger, yes. But what if it's a friend?
Thanks. I'm glad I get to see this again. It flashes in my mind fleetingly. Still too clear, still too vivid. The iron tang of blood still lingers in my nose as if it were yesterday when I entered that room.
See, you can be pretty nice when you're trying. We're all in danger. I thought you were my friends. Why don't you believe me?
She's the first one, and I've never forgiven myself for it.
I'd rather not talk about that, Professor.
I know you well enough, Ashton. you'll see that body, and you'll beat yourself up about it with what ifs. Scold yourself about what you could have done to prevent it. I don't want you to blame yourself. Not when I know how awful that feeling is. It's not a healthy way to live. Don't make the same mistakes I did.
I know it's not my fault, but to an extent it is, isn't it? I'm a police officer. I'm supposed to stop things like this. To serve and to protect. That's what I swore when I joined the police force. I've got a badge, months of training, and even a gun to do it. But I can't even protect my own friends. Isabella, Rebecca, Zach. Have I been of any help to them at all? Besides, I should have kept a closer eye on them after what happened to Isabella.
Why are you telling me this?
I just want you to realize that it isn't your fault. It is not. You can't be everywhere. Cop or not, you're just one man. I was the one who called the police about the jumper.
Oh.
I didn't know it was Rebecca.
Oof.
We met earlier this morning. She asked for library privileges to access the NMRR, and I was happy to be of assistance. Perhaps, if I was with her, this wouldn't have happened. If it's anyone's fault, it's mine.
No. You two. I want to tell him it's not. Ease off another guilt he's intending to carry. That the reasons are far from what he's thinking. But what am I supposed to say? I'm aware he enjoys looking into those stuff from an academic point of view. How do I explain, though, that Rebecca didn't commit suicide without sounding absolutely mental? I don't even have all the pieces of the puzzle yet. Even if I feel like sharing, sitting here and talking about it is a waste of time. There's still Zach. I can't let this happen to him as well. I should be out there, trying to make sense of things.
Sorry, Professor, I have to go.
Ashton, wait.
I pause, looking to him. I'm not entirely sure what he has seen in my face, but all of a sudden the stern look in his eyes softens. Similar to all those years ago, before death has become a familiar shadow. Like looking at a mirror and seeing myself in a few years from now. If we ever survive this. Ha!
I was just going to say, be careful.
In the face of it, a smile is all I can offer.
When am I not?
Unfortunately, I can't do that for you, Professor. Ashton found himself following after emergency service unit in a daze. Soon his fears turned real. Rebecca was already lifeless. Before he could understand what was happening, a concerned Professor Andrew Clark pulled him away from the scene. Despite the older man's warnings, he pushed on. Without another glance, I head out. Oh, you gotta call her Mom? Alright. Death notification is a task I avoid like a plague. Although I've known Rebecca since childhood, there are plenty of reasons why I shouldn't be the one breaking the bad news to her parents. 1. Protocol states you're always supposed to do this in person. 2. Protocol also states you're supposed to do this with a partner. And 3. I've never been good with words. But here I am. Unceremoniously thrusted into the task, all because there's no other one. As expected, everything goes as well as my blunt mouth can take. Mrs. Gale's relentless sobs echo loudly through the receiver when I finish informing them, while all I can say before ending the call is an empty...
I'm really sorry, Mrs. Gales.
Before ending the call with a click and heading back inside Isabella's apartment. Her mom's voice still ring in my ears, even as I leave it all in the hallway behind me. Here, though, there's only stillness. Heavy, deafening, suffocating. Wordlessly, I take the empty space on the edge of the bed. Despite how peaceful this all seems, the gravity of that news has hit hard. It's in the dense air now lingering the room. It's in the deafening silence left by the absence of this room's occupant. Most of all, it's in the heavy feeling that has made its home at the pit of my stomach. Becca's the last person I need to account for, damn it. Although Zach's in a holding cell right now, he's safe. Where did it go wrong with her? I've already lost Isabella. How could I make the same mistake again?
What do I do now?
It's a question I've been dreading to ask myself, if only because I don't have an answer to it, uncertain as I am. How many more close calls do we have to go through? How many deaths do we have to witness? How long can we keep this up? Okay, so you have Zach's tomorrow, Marianne the next day. You probably won't see Hannah, because she must have been taken to the morgue by now. And then there's your own death. And then I don't even know if Luke can die. I don't know if Ghost Woman will allow Luke to die. So you got 2 for sure. And then your own. And, don't worry about it. We're bound to break at one point. No normal human being with a sane mind can last like this, losing people important to them one by one right in front of them. I don't even know how I can keep myself safe. I'm afraid you can't. Quietly, I reach for the papers I've brought with me, sifting through the pages before laying them out on the table and getting down to business. All at once, everything we've brushed off, carelessly ignored, and rudely dismissed have been laid out for close scrutiny. Close scrutiny. Zach's encounters with the woman and his dreams. Rebecca's close brushes with death every time she appears. The dread, the fear, the terror she brings out even in the bravest of us. Everything. Because no matter how bleak this all seems, there must still be a way out of this. There has to be. Logic be damned. Or at least that's what I would like to believe. Yet even as the cold morning light shifts to the warm hues of late afternoon and eventually night, none of this still makes a fucking damn sense. Darkness has fallen, but I'm still nowhere near figuring things out. If anything, I'm more at a loss than we've ever been before I even started this. The next thing I know, frustration rears its ugly head, and the sheets of paper I've been holding smacks the table harder than I've intended. The sound of it echoes loudly in the small room, and I simply fall silent. Along with it is a release of another long-held breath. Perhaps the 100th since this morning.
I'm not getting anywhere useful with this.
I'm also missing a lot of things here. There's still a gap, a huge one. Somehow, even with all this information in hand, it still feels like there's something I'm overlooking. All I have to go with is the letter and all the stuff selfish people have been keeping from the public. But what else? Where this all started? The Ermengarde mansion? Will bringing the letter back there fix everything? Fuck. How do I... The mansion's a private property now. Can't just waltz in there. I'd rather die before I even think of begging Wright to let me in and investigate the place. After what he did to Zach? Not gonna happen. Over my dead body. One thing's very clear after these last 2 days, however. We're not safe anywhere, and I have to act fast if I want to keep Zach alive. We can't keep running away. Sooner or later she'll get us like she did with Rebecca and Isabella. Before that happens, I have to put an end to this. Sighing, I stand up and stretch out the kinks in my back after several hours of sitting. I've been at this for too long. A break is needed. Time to let everything to sink in or else I'll burn out. I know I will, and it's another thing I cannot let happen when there's still another person counting on me like this.
Maybe I should check in on Zach.
Uh-oh. The rest of it never makes it out of my mouth as something heavy and grating sounds from the far end of the room. A harsh, booming noise rending through my eardrums. All at once, I'm on my feet while I quickly palm for my gun on the table. However, before I can pull it up and remove the safety, the whole racket stops. Stillness descends in the room, and amidst the sudden hush, I sweep an anxious glance around the room. So she's still showing up in the wardrobe the same night, but no one else is here except for Ash. So much for a break. There's no time for a pause now. Quickly, I gather up the documents I've been reading through. But before I can even finish, another noise ups the tension already gripping the place. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the wardrobe at the end of the room rattles, as if something inside begs for freedom. Cautiously, eyes glued to it, I take a step forward and I release the lock from my gun. I'm no trigger-happy person. I'm not even sure if this will work on a ghost. But right now, its smooth surface against my palm with the trigger on my finger provides the closest thing I have to relief as I approach the closet.
Who's there?
No answer, and the ruckus simply continues. In 2 deep breaths, I've crossed the room and stood in front of the closet. Whatever's inside has yet to stop thrashing. Instead, it has now moved to banging at the door, louder and louder the longer I dally. Another shallow intake of breath. A glance at the door, my only exit. An exhale. Something creaks. Then, in the next moment, I'm grasping at the handles and swinging the doors wide open to reveal... nothing. Right away, I part the clothes hanging on it, and still none. No ghost. No woman. Not a single trace of whatever, whoever's inside. Confused, I glance back around the room, a frown on my face. The noise has finally stopped, but I'm quite sure it isn't my imagination. Or maybe it is, and I'm just too strung up that my head's now making things up. Whatever the case is, I need to get out of here as soon as possible. This only confirms we aren't safe anywhere. I have to warn Zach. Without bothering to close it, I move back, ready to leave, adrenaline now coursing through every vein in my body. In the next second, I'm grabbing the papers off the table and... I'm sent sprawling on my back as something cold catches my ankle and yanks. The resulting fall knocks the wind out of me. Pain racks my whole spine and the back of my head as it collides against floor, with force enough to dislodge my own brain from my skull. A moment lasts before stars fade from my vision, and then I sense it. Cold tendrils twisting around my ankles, the smell of vile rot assaulting my nose. Nauseating, sickening, a foul smell draining every feeling in my body. The moment her horrid laughter, still as unpleasant and vicious as the last time I've heard it, reaches my ears, my eyes snap open. Perhaps it's just inexperience. Or maybe my mind still attempting to comprehend this. Regardless, the minute my eyes land on her, the whole of my body freezes, the gun in my hand turns useless as my grip on it slackens. It's in the manner her gaze bores on me, I'll say. The look of utter hatred and malice. I've seen it loads of times. From suspects, mostly murderers, who never regretted their actions despite being caught. This is the face of someone you can no longer reason with. And I know, the moment she laughs again and starts dragging me toward her, it's already going to be the...
Ashton! Snap out of it!
Ah, Bella from beyond the grave! No, I can't die here. Not yet. The haze fades from my mind and instinct kicks in then and there.
Let go, you!
With one powerful tug, I yank my foot out of her grip and scramble back to my feet, ignoring the piercing wail she fills the room with. Within the span of a second, I'm gunning for the door. Into the hallway, down the flight of steps, and right inside my car. I waste no time flooring on the gas pedal the second I close the door behind me, and in a short while I'm driving out of Salem Well. I don't even entertain the thought of winding down just yet, even as the last of the woman's painful cries fade into the night. Okay. I wanted there to be, like, calmness while we read the journal entry. So Bella's voice in his head, snapping him out of it. Saved him for a little while longer. In spite of his grief, Ashton tried to find a way out of the curse, piecing together what he currently knows, to no avail. Exhausted, he took a break after reaching another dead end, but not before a ruckus coming from Isabella's closet broke the silence of the room. And now it's over. A dreary downpour starts off the Monday. Although it doesn't last for more than an hour, the dark clouds lift just after the sun peeks over the horizon. Brief as it is, the rain has significantly dampened the park's usual cheery vibe. Mornings like this often mark the start of another bad week. An arrest gone wrong, another investigation leading to a dead end, or some truly fucked up shit being called in. Like that one time I was dispatched to a scene where a guy gouged his own eyeball out and almost ate it. Was a few chews away from swallowing it, in fact. Lost my dinner that day.
Fun times.
Well, at least you still have your smile after all this. Of course, I doubt anything can top getting cursed by a damn chain letter of all things. This is the sort of stupid thing people pass along as a prank through emails and text messages, for fuck's sake. A ghost chasing after you just puts the icing on that cake. So far, all we've done is run, snoop about, read stuff, and run again. It frustrates me to no end how I'm still no closer to an answer. Even my car reflects the state my mind is in. Photocopies of documents litter every available surface, scattered all over the place, spilling from the passenger side and into the back seat, making an entire mess of what little space there is. Not that I'm any better. My last shower was 24 hours ago. I haven't slept at all, and my last meal was a slice of cold pizza I bought from a convenience store the night I broke into BRC. Well, you should have ate the food that Professor Andrew bought for you, you dum-dum. The way I am now, I'll definitely get a scolding. If Becca were here, she'd give me an earful and tell me to take care of myself better, say that I'm killing myself on the job. Isabella would... Well, she would complain about how dark the bags under my eyes were getting, and about how I reek and how I need to shower pronto.
I can rest easy when this is all over.
Or when I'm dead. Damn. It's not that I can't feel the pang of hunger. With that woman chasing after you, it's difficult not to feel anything other than horror. The rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins in my desperation to survive. In fact, I can still sense the ghost of her touch from last night. Ha ha ha. The puns. Her bony digits wound tightly around my ankle, and that horrid smile she has on her as she pulls me closer. The memory's enough to send a shiver up my spine and make me antsy. Perhaps the only thing comforting about this is the sight of my gun nearby. From my dashboard, sunlight glints off of Phelia's surface. Normally, I keep it hidden in the compartment. Luxburn police regulations only allows authorized people to carry firearms, and even those are limited. I do have that authorization, but I never really saw the need for its use when the standard issue tasers are more than good enough to incapacitate anyone. If not, I can always throw them on their back. Those judo lessons Dad forced me to get as a kid has its uses too. On a ghost, though, all of those will probably yield the same result. They're all useless. I might as well use a stick. Or a book. However, it's the feeling of ease I'm after, or what little of it I can gather from it. The awareness that I, at least, have something to protect myself with in case things go wrong. It doesn't take the edge off, though. The feeling that your whole body has been strained far beyond its capacity. Frankly, I'm already running out of steam. The only thing pushing me right now is some stubborn will to live, to survive this. Not for me, but for the sake of the people I lost. So someone will remember. A stretch is still in order, though. I've been sitting here since last night. Soon I step out from my car, closing it behind me with a thud as I take in my surroundings. The rain did wonders. The morning air feels crisper and cooler than it has ever been in days. For once, the weather seems to be taking a turn for the normal. Luxburn normal. In the distance, beyond the buildings lining the horizon, dark clouds are blowing in.
A storm might be due this evening, give or take.
A shame for the people looking forward to Halloween tonight. I'm just not sure whether this is something I can look forward to as well. Still, I bask in the change it brings. Inhale. Exhale. Breathing in, taking in the peace as if it'll be my last. But as with all the good things, the quiet shortly comes to an end. My phone buzzes, halting my movements. I placed the damn thing on silent last night, but it does nothing to keep it quiet as it vibrates from my pocket. I don't even know if I want to answer it right now. Maybe don't, you know? You don't really need to know. Don't worry about it. It has brought me nothing but one bad news after another. Thinking back about it only makes me want to chuck it into the closest trash bin I can find. Not that it'll help things, of course. Another exhale slips past my lips before I pull it out, quickly swiping over the screen without checking the caller ID. I don't even bother masking the weary lilt in my tone when I answer, if only to get this over with. After all, there's no one left. No one remains to worry or fret over how awful I might sound right now. Zach's been put in jail for a crime he likely didn't commit. Rebecca's gone. Dead. And no matter how many times I apologize to her, Isabella's never coming back. What's the use, huh?
Inspector Frey speaking.
Music.
Good morning, sir. Sorry to bother you this early.
How do you sound so clear over the phone?
What is this about?
It's about your friend, you know? The guy I called you about yesterday, the one they brought in the night before. Zachary Steele.
His hesitant note does nothing to diminish the lump that has suddenly lodged itself at the base of my throat. What are the chances? What are the chances that something went wrong while I'm not looking? While I'm out here chasing ghosts of all things?
How is he? Is he doing okay?
We actually have a problem, Detective Inspector.
We've got a bit of a problem. Hasty assumptions aren't a usual fare in my book. That shouldn't change right now. The precinct is secure. It's supposed to be. They have guards manning the station 24/7. If anything happens, all Zack has to do is shout and someone will be there for him. Even if it's a phantom going after him, he should be safe there. He should have been. Yet none of these reassurances will allay my suspicions, and whatever little thread of hope I'm hanging on to frays slowly as each second of silence passes by. An expectation so weak, faint, I might as well just let it go and prepare myself for the worst. It's a feeble attempt at optimism I will never get used to. This is out of my depth. This isn't my forte. Not my division. Zack's, maybe. Rebecca's, too. Never mine. Hell, this is the kind of mood Isabella has always unknowingly brought with her. What her eyes often conveyed. What I often found myself searching in her, whenever I looked to them. But no matter how many times I repeat any words of comfort or calming images inside my head, the hollow chill at the base of my stomach refuses to ease. Even my voice shakes when I urge Officer Renz to speak again, gruff and unsteady. The only thing keeping me standing is the fountain's solid support behind me when I stumble back.
Officer Renz. Renz, right? What happened? You're supposed to keep an eye on him, yeah? It's protocol.
Your friend, sir, he's... I think it'd be better if you just saw it yourself, sir. This isn't something you should be hearing over the phone.
You've seen enough death for a week. Thank you.
Chief Inspector Lee wants you to report in as well. It's about the case Luke Wright filed yesterday, and...
The rest never registers. Rather, my brain refuses to acknowledge any of it. Not even the possibility that this might just be a terrible joke. All I can think of is the suffocating dread and the piercing noise, white and deafening, ringing in my ears despite the park's morning hush. There is only Zack. Only the whole expanse of Luxburn separating me from the only person I believe I have left in this whole fucked up situation we found ourselves in. Along with the voices. Vile ones. Whispers that taunt, jeer, and mock. Each vague utterance relentless as I slide back into my car and drive off, body on autopilot, mind in a daze. In this city of 68,000 strangers, I'm afraid, deathly afraid, that I might be the only one left. The whole precinct is in an uproar. Officers move in and out from the main work hall with rapid steps, phones blare loudly from the comms room, and calls are being made from the dispatch area. The rest who has been left standing watch the whole commotion with a nervous energy. From further back, the chief's voice booms above the uproar. I'm not even shocked. He may appear like the bumbling fool on first glance, but he has kept the city safe for years. For something to happen in his jurisdiction, inside his own precinct, right under his nose, he has the right to be royally pissed.
What do you mean you don't know? Don't give me that shite, Sergeant! How can one person, slip past you? You can't even keep an eye on one man!
His statement gives me pause. Am I wrong? Did Zack escape somehow? I'm not condoning it. Neither do I believe Zack's capable of doing, let alone thinking of it. But if it's what happened, I'll be equally as cross as the chief. This won't help his case. This will only complicate things with Wright and put the both of us in a tight spot. I won't be able to help him once red tape prevents me from doing so. Yet a hint of relief still washes over me as I walk closer to my boss, mentally preparing myself for whatever reprimand he's about to dish out.
What's happening, Chief?
Except he merely glances at me with an inscrutable expression. Although, if I am going to read deeper into it, I'll say it's the closest expression he can get to shooting me a pitying look. For the first time in my years in the Force, I find myself wishing to hear a reprimand from him. Whatever that stare means, it can't be good. coupled with the Officer Renz's tone this morning, it does nothing to calm the uneasy feeling in me. Fuck, Boss even seems relieved to see me. After the last few exchanges we've had these past 2 weeks, you'll think the man doesn't want to see me right now.
About time you got in here.
I got caught up in something. Sorry, Chief. What's going on? Is there a problem with Zach?
He hesitates for a second before his frown eases with a long, dragged-out exhale.
I'm not sure if you can call this a problem, Frey, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Follow me. And you, I want your full report about this by the end of the day. It better be good or you are kissing that badge goodbye.
The officer he's addressing, the sergeant, a man in his late 20s to 30s who transferred here last year, shrinks back in his chair. I don't quite remember his name. I've only seen him quite a number of times since I'm often out of the precinct. But if my memory serves me right, he's the guy currently assigned to late night shift, at least until the month ends. Depending on how bad this is, he'll either be given a verbal warning, a suspension, or a dismissal. It's not a position I envy him for being in right now. Although there's really not much time left to feel sorry for him either. As soon as Chief's done roasting the other officers behind the guy, he gestures for me to follow. Straight towards the precinct's holding cells. Oh, here we go again. And it's if a switch has been turned off. The moment he steps away from the small crowd, the entire main lobby goes silent. For one reason or another, it feels like everyone's simply waiting for the metaphorical hammer to fall. Even their stares, before we turn to an adjacent hallway, exude the same pitying vibe as the Chief's. All of which I might have easily ignored any other day. People here can be a bunch of gossip mongers. It's only the significant glance Chief throws my way before pushing the door open that stops me. Not that there's even a need to mull over it, because the moment he swings it open, it strikes me. Hi, I'm Officer Renz! After spending the night at the local park, Ashton tried to figure out what his next step will be. A phone call interrupted Ashton's musings. Although only vague details were given, gut feeling told him that something had gone wrong at the mere mention of Zachary. The detective hurried to the precinct, expecting the worst. A sharp, dry, metallic scent. I've already grown familiar of it over the years. There we go. It's another one of those things you'll have to get used to once they start handing you the homicide cases. Now, just a whiff of it tells enough for me to gauge the severity of the situation. This isn't the festering smell you get when someone in the room has a flesh wound. It lingers far too much in the air, hangs far too heavily even where I stand. No. This is what you get when someone has spilled blood all over the room. This is what you get when there's a large pool of it. This is what you get when no one bothers with cleanup for a few hours because forensic work isn't done yet. This is what you get when there's, most certainly, a dead body somewhere. I don't want to think of the who yet. There are simply too many possibilities, too many variables unaccounted for here to form a single conclusion. However, when the Chief of Luxburn Police refuses to provide answers, a chill easily fills every nerve in my body. Almost in a trance, I follow after him without asking anything or saying another word. For the first time in years, I feel like a damn rookie again. Fresh out of training, newly instated, and still on my first homicide case. Except I didn't balk at the idea of seeing a dead body then. Now, as light flashes fleetingly from the far end of the hall, while CSI documents the scene and the forensics team gather evidence, the only thing my instinct tells me is to run. As far from here as possible, as if I don't have 10 years of detective work under my belt. It echoes inside my head like a mantra.
It's because you didn't listen.
Uh-oh.
It's all your fault. Why won't you believe me?
Over and over and over. Rising and ebbing. A tidal wave of thoughts and murmurs surging and crashing against my ear. More deafening than the drum of my heart beats in shallow gasps. Churning and heaving, till the cell finally comes into view and I am afforded a clearer look of what's inside. Oh, she took his eyeballs. Oh, she scratched out his eyes. Well, you still have your innards, at least. But she scratched out your eyes. Oh, Zach, I am so sorry. The whole world stands still. In one single moment, every noise, every smell, every person in the room all ceases to matter the second my eyes land on his prone form. There's only red. 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 Blood everywhere. On the floor, where a copious amount of it is pooled. On the walls, smeared on every crack and tile his hands can reach. On his face and shoulders, dripping from every gash and tear, flowing from the hollow gap where his eyes should have been.
The custodial officer found him when they brought him breakfast. It was too late. He was already dead by that time. Some 3 to 4 hours, according to the blokes from forensics.
Is there a help me message? There had been a struggle, based alone on the smear pattern left on the bars and floor, but only so much as the small cell will allow him. Oh man. Tried to fight her off, too. I can already imagine how it went down. He was likely left with no other choice. Cornered, like an animal at the mercy of his killer. In this cell there would have been no escape. The only thing he would have been able to do is shout for help. Perhaps the same plea written on the floor closest to him. The same one left written on the pavement close to Rebecca's remains. Like the one I've seen in Isabella's room that night. Help me. Help me. Help me. Help that he didn't even get. And it calls for a whole lot of questions. Not the hows. Logic has already flown out the window from the start. She has the means to get us. Get to all of us, bars and walls notwithstanding. The whys, though.
No one heard him? Not even one from the guys on duty last night?
Because Zach's not an idiot. He would have asked for help. He would have yelled.
Oh, one of them did. But thought nothing of it.
Then why didn't they do anything? He's just a room away!
They must have assumed your friend's just asking for attention. Henry wasn't clear on the details when I questioned him about it. You've been serving in this precinct for more than a decade, though. You should be aware by now how rowdy the folks we detain here can become. But that's not the only problem we have here. Someone got in and out of this place without anyone noticing. Even the surveillance footage is a bust.
Oh, I never even thought that there would be cameras, of course, here.
Tech's going over it now, but I don't think we'll get anything from it. The media will have a field day when they learn of this, Frey. Keep it mum for now. I'll let you know because he's your... well, you deserve to know. The poor bloke's your friend, after all. I just don't want the commissioner hearing of this before I can tell him anything. Or at least, until we've figured out how the butcher got in.
You think this is an inside job?
What else can it be? It's either that or we have a damn good criminal mastermind walking this city.
Really, I want to say something. I want to tell him that this isn't what he's thinking. That all this time, the Anselm Butcher never existed. This is a curse the people of the city has been laughing up for centuries. The way things are going, we'll simply find ourselves at a dead end. Chances are they'll just have to find an innocent chap to blame for everything, like what Wright did to Zach. A scapegoat for things they can't explain. But how am I supposed to tell everyone, let alone get them to believe my words? I'll sound like an idiot. They'll likely brush me off the same way I've done with Isabella's warnings. In the end, clenching my fists at my sides and gritting my teeth is all I am able to do. Zach's lifeless face stares back at me, and accusations in them, sharp and searing. An expression that etches itself deep within my mind once the first officer waves us both out of the room. Another ghastly image I will never be able to forget. Just like Rebecca's bleeding corpse on the pavement. Just like Isabella's mangled body in her room. Another memory will probably haunt me until my last dying breath. Another regret.